Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today we're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. So Army of the Dead is the latest movie from writer-director Zack Snyder. He's most famous for movies like 300, The Watchmen, and Man of Steel, but this is his return to zombies. His first feature film came out in 2004, and it was a remake of Dawn of the Dead. And as far as remakes go, it was a good one. It's a solid remake. I liked it a lot. Here we are, almost 20 years later. He's returning to the zombie genre with something that he wrote and directed called Army of the Dead. It is the latest Netflix original. You can watch it right now. I'm going to give you a spoiler-free review.
There's a goddamn zombie tiger. That's crossing the line.
Longtime subscribers know I've got kind of a love-hate thing with Zack Snyder movies, but my hope for Army of the Dead was that it's just a fun, wild ride and doesn't take itself too seriously. Because to me, a heist movie set in a zombie-ridden Las Vegas, complete with zombie showgirls and a zombie white tiger, needs to be a fun movie. And I'm going to start off this review by telling you that Army of the Dead is quite possibly Zack Snyder's dumbest movie, and how that is absolutely perfect. So for starters, there's a lot of really dumb, and I mean a lot of really dumb stuff in this movie. You're gonna have to overlook that stuff, and it's easier to do in a zombie movie because you're already looking several things over. But just for an example, there's a whole dumb thing where Dave Bautista's daughter ends up tagging along. It doesn't make any sense, but there are plenty of otherwise decent movies that were ruined by the dumb things the hero's kids did. This one's not a terrible example of it. I've seen way worse.
Kelly? Kelly, no!
And honestly, if this movie's winning and losing points like Jeopardy, where it wins points for good ideas and loses them for dumb, bad ones, Army of the Dead is no Ken Jennings, but it ends up coming out ahead in the end. A good example of that is I felt like the zombie makeup is pretty poor. Just today, our eyeballs can kind of see through it. It doesn't look nearly as good as things on The Walking Dead, in my opinion. Yet a lot of the production design elements looked good. I thought Las Vegas looked fantastic. The blood, even though a lot of it is CGI, looks really good. They did a good job. It looks heavy and wet and sloppy. And on that note, it is a bloody movie. I was happy with just how hard they went with it. When there's blood, there's quite a lot of it, and for a zombie movie, it's uniquely satisfying. What do you want me to say? Something different from what you normally see in Zack Snyder movies is budget restraints, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. This movie had a $90 million budget, which sounds like a lot of money, but typically a movie like this, even with the same cast that would come out in theaters, is going to be somewhere closer to double that, and it shows. Usually Zack Snyder movies have these big, sweeping, epic backgrounds that are colorful and beautiful. Here, they're really restricted to a lot of tight close-ups, and the movie's kind of ugly for a Zack Snyder movie, but there are plenty of great sort of Zack Snyder-style shots in it. Overall, it just feels like a cheaper movie, but that's to be expected, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. The opening credits sequence is typical Zack Snyder fashion. He's done some of, I don't want to say the best, but I always like his opening title sequence. Sometimes I like them more than the movie. Here, he did a good job with that too. It's a good introduction into the story of how this all happened, without just showing us like newspaper clippings and stuff. They actually show quite a bit of carnage in the opening credit sequence, which was great. But obviously, Zack Snyder, one of the things I've always hated is his music choices. Most of the time in this movie, and most of the time in every Zack Snyder movie, I feel like they're horrible. So I don't get a copyright strike. Here's a couple quick clips of the music that is playing when this crew's gearing up to go into zombie-infested Las Vegas to steal a bunch of money.
Trouble on the way. I hear hurricanes blowing on the ride.
But at that point, I'm starting to nitpick. Something I won't nitpick is Dave Bautista does a great job here. I really like him as an actor. He's not Daniel Day-Lewis or anything, but he has gotten better over the years. You can tell he is focused on it. He comes across as being very convincing. He sells it. He's good in this movie. as is most of the cast. Honestly, a lot of these folks I've been following on Instagram for years just because I've liked them in so many other things. It was cool to see them all together. It's a fantastic ensemble cast. The people bounce off each other really well. And then some of the cast members I was not familiar with, like the Safecracker, I dug what they were doing. I liked it. The movie's funny, but not too funny and stupid in that sense. There's several major plot shifts, but one of them, the way it was delivered and what happened just had me howling in the middle of the movie. And then the movie legitimately got a couple of really solid whoas out of me. I watch a lot of movies, it's hard to surprise me. Army of the Dead did get me more than once. And it is similar to more sophisticated movies like Predator and Aliens. I know some of you probably don't realize Predator is sophisticated. That's for another video. Zack Snyder's clumsier here. There's too much going on. There's too many things, but it is reminiscent of movies like that, and the parts where you could tell he was trying to do something like that do work. Speaking to the clumsiness, it's way too long, and I don't like to complain about the length of movies. I really don't. It's 2.5 hours. Some of my absolute favorite movies of all time are that long, but it's 50 minutes before they breach the wall into Las Vegas. That's a long time. In a movie about people breaking into Las Vegas to steal money during a zombie apocalyptic event, do we really need 50 minutes of setup? I don't think so. I think it could have easily been edited down, and even better if it had been written down and compressed and just gave us that information in maybe a smarter way without having to explain every single thing to us along the way. Again, I'm starting to nitpick. This is a zombie movie that's a Netflix original. On that level, it's excellent stuff. And there's a lot of moving parts in this movie. I think it's too many. There's too many different little side stories. And that's what makes it long. It requires a lot of exposition, but it's not something that completely ruins the movie. So Army of the Dead is not going to squeak into my top 10 zombie movies of all time, but it might squeak into my top 25. And as far as action movies released as Netflix originals, this one is definitely up there. It's one of my favorites that I've seen in a while. Again, just in terms of action movies, it's good stuff. If you have the right expectations for it, or at least just appropriate expectations for a movie like this, I think you're going to dig it. Turn your brain off, try not to think too much, and enjoy an otherwise really fun ride. Help me thank the Patreon supporters in the comments below. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description. There's also a link down there where you can become a channel member and get access to exclusive videos right here on YouTube. But I will keep making these reviews as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for watching this Army of the Dead review, and you will see me on the next one.